So what's good, TMG fam? It's your boy Ellen. I'm back with another reaction. How y'all feel? Welcome back to the channel. Salute, man. Now listen, I'm glad I found this video. Y'all know me. I've been going crazy in a lot of videos lately saying, listen, man, y'all don't think that, you know what I mean, scientists, researchers back then, people were actually very, very smart and could have been a lot smarter than we are. You know what I'm saying? A lot more advanced than we are, you know? But I think some people find that so hard to believe, and I don't understand why. I don't understand why. So what we have here is the 15 oldest technologies that scientists can't explain. The oldest technologies, bro, that scientists can't explain. I'm hyped because, man, I think this video is going to pretty much tell us what I've been saying for the longest. You know what I mean? But only one way to find out. So if you're new to the channel, man, hit that subscribe button, join the fam. We're going to check it out. Leave a like, share the video, all that good stuff. Here we go.
We often believe modern science to be the zenith of humanity thus far, incorrectly perceiving technology as a modern craft, but some societies of the past were actually significantly more creative than we ever give them credit for. Not only did they craft technology we still use today, but sometimes they designed things that we still don't fully understand. These are the oldest technologies that scientists can't explain. Number 15. Wood steel. Wood steel is one of the finest metals you've ever heard of. Back in the Middle Ages, this material was used to fashion the famous Damascus blade, a legendary weapon allegedly capable of cutting through a rifle barrel or, in one case, cutting a hair perfectly in two.
Cutting a rifle barrel, or just pulling that piece of hair out and dropping it and watching it slice that piece of hair. That's crazy.
Those blades were made of wood steel, which is a mystery of its own. Wood steel originates in India, sometime around 500 BC, and is generally recognized for its unique textural patterns, often in the shapes of waves, ladder, or roses. The world's foremost metal producers have concocted a super secret technique to develop what they were calling the finest steel in the world, which is pretty confident considering many of them likely would never have actually explored the world. Those producers would be pretty happy today knowing their secrets have remained intact, and that modern scientists baffled by this mysterious metal are attempting to reproduce its unusual texture using scientific means. None have succeeded, of course, otherwise this would be quite a useless list. The unusual method with which the steel was produced makes it almost impossible to create it in any other way. For scientists, that's not ideal, but then they should probably have more important things to be focusing on than recreating an ancient metal. Like this video, smash the subscribe button, and click the notification bell right now, or this centipede will crawl on your face.
Never to be duplicated. Just let that sink in.
When you're sleeping. Now it's time for the juicy topic. The Vajra is a ritualistic Buddhist tool that can pack a serious wallop made out of solid brass or bronze, and with 4 prongs at each end that curl into a lotus bud shape. This heavy clump of metal could do some serious damage if wielded as a weapon. But with fables surrounding this thing claiming it can summon electricity, we have to wonder, can it actually do that? And if so, how? While the fables and stories suggest it can generate electricity, nobody in recent times has been able to use it to do so. So are the stories all nonsense, or are we, modern idiots, too dumb to understand how this ancient tool works? Remember to comment down below with the hashtag.
I'm still stuck on it penetrating somebody. The way it can go in, once it go in, it's gonna do like that. And it ain't coming out of whatever it penetrates.
Juicy topic, and let us know your opinion in relation to what we just showed on screen. And now, to the next topic. Number 14. Greek fire. It's no secret that fire is one of the most dangerous weapons a fighter can have at their disposal. Just think of the flamethrower, the Molotov cocktail, or the 1999 Smash Mouth classic All-Star. All of them pure fire. But for over 700 years, the Greeks found a new way to use fire, and it was pretty ingenious. Developed and utilized by the Byzantine Empire, Greek fire was basically the ancient Greek equivalent of napalm. When they found themselves in battle, the Greeks would throw these unusually shaped grenades at their chosen target. When they would ignite, the flames would stick to their target and were impossible to put out with water. In fact, the flames burned just as well on top of water than anything else. Scientists have found no credible way of explaining that, and the secret was lost to history like the guarded recipe for KFC. Physics tells us that water cannot support flames, so how on earth is this possible? The fall of the Byzantine Empire in 1453 brought an abrupt end to Greek fire, a weapon that had at one time been the hidden weapon of the Byzantine army. We'll probably never understand how this incredibly strong weapon worked, but I have a feeling it might have something to do with 13 herbs and spices. Number 13.
Imagine that, getting hit with something and it bursts into flames and you can't put the fire out, bro. You trying water, dirt, anything you could possibly smother in it. It ain't working, fam. You know what I mean? And I was a firefighter, so I'm sitting here racking my mind like, okay, you take oxygen away from it. Yep. What's some of the things, but they're saying it couldn't be put out by water, but it's got me baffled. So that's going to bug me. I already know.
Voynich Manuscript. Some books are just impenetrable, aren't they? Maybe they're a little overwritten, or they're in a language you don't understand. Or, occasionally, they're in a language even the experts don't understand. And that's especially wild because they know more than little old dum-dum me. The Voynich Manuscript is, admittedly, a little more complicated than just a language problem. This is a weird, unusual, and very mysterious book. 2/3 into the manuscript, the reader discovers a line drawing of a bath, surrounded by pipes and filled with naked women. The next few pages contain more naked women in increasingly unusual and surreal scenarios, all of them accompanied by some strange text. The only problem is that this text is complete nonsense. Did
he find the very first Playboy magazine? Like, you know what I mean? Like super early?
Its discovery in 1912, the book has been looked at by hundreds of experts, from cryptographers to linguists who have tried to decipher whatever it is, but all have failed. Experts remain insistent that this book is not a hoax, but nobody has yet been able to decipher its text and explain its meaning. For now, it looks like the world will just have to wait for the audiobook. Number 12. The Anticatherine Mechanism. The world of the ancient Greeks was nothing short of fascinating, but the technological innovations that they created were really something else. Take, for instance, the Anticatherine Mechanism, or, as we may better know it, one of the earliest computers ever to be discovered. In 1900, a group of sponge divers in the Mediterranean were forced off their unusual route by a storm, when they happened to stumble, or swim, upon an unexpected treasure off the coast of the island of Antikythera.
The small island of Antikythera sits right in the middle of this maritime corridor.
A sunken shipwreck containing hundreds of priceless Greek antiques was just sitting and waiting for discovery, and the divers immediately began investigating these unusual objects. The most notable, however, an encrusted bronze hunk of something. 8 months after its discovery, the object was found to be some kind of computer, made up of over 30 gear wheels. What it's for is anyone's guess. Scientists have been unable to crack its purpose, confirming that this is the most advanced piece of technology of the period. Scientists have run multiple experiments and investigations on this odd computer, but have turned up absolutely nothing. It seems whatever its purpose, it's clearly not sentient enough to share it with us. Number 11. The Ancient Earthquake Detector. It seems that whatever genius invention the Western world comes up with, the Chinese got there first, and thousands of years before. In this case, we're looking at seismographs, or earthquake detectors. And what's more, theirs looks better than anything we ever came up with. In 132 AD, a Chinese inventor called Zhang Heng created the world's...
Yeah, I'd much rather sit and wait for this or be around this than some type of little device and you got these needles and it's creating these little lines on the page. I already told y'all, my ADD, I want something like this that's gonna look like a gumball machine waiting on the ball to drop into the mouth, and I'm like, all right, y'all, it's on.
The very first seismoscope, designed to detect earthquakes from some distance, and without the need for the shaking of the device whatsoever. That's some tech. When an earthquake was detected, one of the bronze balls that sat inside the mouths of each of the 8 dragons on the device would be released, allowing it to fall into the open mouth of one of the 8 bronze toads. The technology behind this device is so complicated that it's almost not even worth trying to summarize, in part because scientists are still unable to explain exactly how the mechanism worked. To the Chinese, an earthquake was a sign from heaven that must be monitored, so it's no surprise that they came up with such an impressively constructed monitoring tool. It's just not worth taking a risk where heaven's concerned. Number 10. Ulfbert Swords. Yes, it's true. While the Vikings were incredibly gifted at inventing near unpronounceable words, their real gift was in their technology. Chances are you've never heard of the Ulfbert sword, and that's totally fine. It's only one of history's strongest weapons, no biggie. The Ulfbert sword has long been known as one of the strongest weapons in all of history, capable of immense power and almost unbeatable in battle. However, it's also one of the most mysterious weapons ever created, and one that researchers still don't fully understand, even all these centuries later. In total, around 170 swords have been recovered, dating back between 800 and 1000 AD, and all of them inscribed with the word Ulfbert, which most experts have come to assume is the name of the weapon's creator. However, researchers have never been able to uncover the secrets behind the metal, which is so pure that it actually seems almost impossible for these weapons to exist before the Industrial Revolution. That's a time-traveling mystery if I've ever heard one. The Ulfbert swords remain a baffling mystery for archaeologists around the world, but they're still determined to get to the bottom of these mysteriously perfect weapons, and I'm sure they'll be putting their own name on it when they do. Look out for Billy Bob's sword in the future. Number 9. Iron Pillar of Delhi.
And so, information like that traveled amongst the people back then. So, when they were alert and prepared, you know what I mean? They'd be like, yo, they got that sword over there. So we need to have something. That's how you keep coming up with different ways, the fire, different things, because you had to one up the competition back then, bro. You know what I mean? If they got their sword, you got to come with something or you're doomed. So trying to go over there and attack or defend yourself, you're going to be at the end of a losing, you know what I mean? So yeah, no. And hence what creates great minds, stuff like that. That's what creates minds to be like, okay, they have that. We have got to come up with something. It's a matter of life and death at that moment. You got to come up with something, you know what I mean? And that's why you got so many beautiful and creations that will never be able to be duplicated.
If there's anything to be learned from this video, it's this. Science is apparently not bound by laws, just unusual guidelines. Yes, fire can exist on water. Objects can defy gravity. And apparently, metal doesn't have to rust? I'm really starting to believe that simulation theory now. In Delhi's QTB complex, there exists one of the most unusual and chemistry-defying metal objects in all.
Yo, this thing right here keeps showing up. You can tell this has got them stumped because it's on almost every research video, ancient history video, whatever.
The world. The Iron Pillar of Delhi. This huge 7.2 meter tall iron pillar has stood for over 1,000 years, dating all the way back to around 300 AD. And yet there is not a single bit of rust or deterioration of any kind on it. Nobody knows why it's there or where it came from, but scientists are more baffled by the bizarre lack of any sort of rusting. While there are many theories as to why this is the case, there's no evidence that is ironclad. Thank you very much. The only damage that can be found on the iron pillar is the result of people touching the surface, which forced the addition of a fence around the pole. I'm presuming those touchy people were scientists, but it's not like it helped them figure things out. Number 8. The feistos disc. History is filled with beautifully crafted and frankly weird artifacts that just make no sense whatsoever. Take for example, the feistos disc, an impressively designed disc of fired clay that just makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. This 15-centimeter wide disc was recovered on the island of Crete in 1908 by Italian archaeologist Luigi Pernier, exploring the Meonian palace site of Feistos. Pernier was fascinated by the 241 mysterious carvings and symbols on both sides of the disc, and took it back home with him in hopes of deciphering what it all means. Given its place on this list, I think you know how that went. Pernier's discovery became a worldwide sensation among archaeologists, who continue to make efforts at deciphering the symbols even today. However, without finding some additional discs, there's no way to know what the context behind it is. For all we know, this thing is just a fancy frisbee. While the disc is generally considered to be a real mystery, some scholars continue to dispute its authenticity. Pernier himself was accused of being a fraud and a liar, but we'll let you decide whether or not this thing is genuine. I, for one, think the world's first frisbee is very authentic. Number 7. Roman dodecahedra. This one goes out to all you dungeon masters out there. Long before the world began hosting elaborate Dungeons and Dragons tournaments, the Romans were designing their own. Or at least they made a dodecahedron, a 12-sided dice. That's close enough, right? The Roman dodecahedra dates all the way back to the 2nd and 3rd century AD. Yet researchers still have absolutely no idea where they came from or why. Over 100 of these little things have been found all across Europe, but as yet, there have been no recovered notes or documentation to help explain their true purpose. Theories range from toys to water pipe gauges and knitting tools, but since archaeologists have yet to find any concrete evidence to back up these claims, feel free to come up with your own in the comments below. To this day, nobody...
I don't know. Ever since he mentioned dice, it made me think of like dice, them rolling that and it's deciding your fate on whatever it landed on. I don't know why that's what I thought of, but he shouldn't have said dice in the beginning.
Fully understands why these things exist, let alone why there are so many of them. Yet archaeologists keep finding more and more unusual Roman creations, some of which have up to 20 sides. It sounds like there were quite a few eager dungeon masters across Roman-era Europe. Number 6. Giant Ball of Costa Rica. Costa Rica has big balls, giant actually, but nobody has ever really understood how they got them or what they're used for. Mostly they're just kept among the gardens and bushes to look pretty, though some archaeologists believe that balls this big need a thorough investigating. Costa Rica's stone spheres are a collection of over 300 polished stone orbs, discovered sometime during the 1930s. Like all balls, they're not the same size. In fact, they're so different in size that you'd be forgiven for thinking they're not even related. While some are just a few centimeters in diameter, others are some 2 meters wide and can weigh up to 16 tons when you get to the massive ones. Archaeologists have always been a little cagey about their origin, with some speculating that they were crafted sometime between 200 BC and 1600 CE. And if that's not confusing enough, they've been found all over the place, so we can't even be sure about who made them. While there are many local myths about the balls, archaeologists and researchers have been unable to find any historical evidence to support them. Up-close tests and investigations on the balls have proven inconclusive. They're just big balls, guys. Number 5. The Codex Gigas. I know what you're thinking, but let me ask you in return. Is there really any better technology than a book? You can read it, you can make stuff out of it, you can put it in under a chair and balance it out. In many ways, a book is the original Swiss Army knife, and the Codex Gigas is, well, it's the Swiss Army knife to beat all others. The Codex Gigas is most likely the most massive book in the world, containing 623-foot tall pages and a whole host of texts. Not only does this whopping book feature the Old and New Testaments, but also books on exorcism, medicine, a full-page drawing of the devil, grammar, and wait, did I say a full-page drawing of the devil? Yep, the Codex Gigas is also known as the Devil's Bible.
In September 2007, Codex Gigas returned to Prague
Due to one
I'm cool. Keep me away from it.
completely unexplained illustration of Satan in the
Some things you just gotta leave alone. That's one for me. I ain't speaking for nobody else but myself. I'm good on stage. I don't have to see that one.
middle of the book. For what reason, you ask? Nobody knows. Researchers have long been searching for answers in the mysterious case of the Codex Gigas, but they've come up empty. For all we know, this book was written by the devil, and he was just narcissistic. Number 4, Japan's Atlantis. Deep beneath the ocean, on the southern coast of Yonaguni, Japan, a pile of 10,000-year-old ruins lies submerged. Their origin is unknown. Their purpose? Unclear. Why are we describing it so dramatically? Because it's fun, right?
One of the greatest underwater discoveries ever.
These unusual ruins were discovered in 1995 by a diver who ventured quite a distance from the Okinawa shoreline. And thank goodness he did. Buried beneath the water was an arrangement of monolithic blocks that looked just a little too constructed to be completely natural. But scientists aren't so sure, and ever since their discovery, a heated debate has been brewing about whether they're man-made creations or merely the effects of nature. Archaeologists, divers, media personalities, and more flocked to the site in hopes of somehow uncovering the truth. But as of yet, nobody really knows. Some great Facebook photos down there, though. This could be the discovery of an Atlantis-like city at the heart of the Pacific Ocean, or it could just be a pile of rocks at the bottom of the ocean floor. Either way, we know one thing. This is something. We don't know what specifically, but it is objectively speaking a thing. Number 3, ancient Indian flying machines. In our modern world of drones, planes, and helicopters, it's easy to forget that humans have been trying to fly for centuries. All the way back to Leonardo da Vinci and the ancient Indian aliens, people on this planet have been... Wait, did I say aliens? Yes, aliens. Ancient Indian texts often describe what would, to our modern eyes, appear to be unusual flying saucers, affectionately known as Vinmanas, and Phalixi, as strange flying chariots that would typically carry gods across the sky. Obviously, this was a time in which many Indians were unfamiliar with what we would now consider to be modern technology. So it stands to reason that their focus would be on the unusual skybound god chariots as opposed to aliens? However, looking at them now, these ancient texts are almost baffling to read, as insight into how native Indians of the period viewed the unusual phenomena that existed right above them, and experts don't have the slightest idea what they're talking about. Modern scientists have spent much of the past decades investigating the unusual writings of these ancient Indian texts, but as yet, there is no indication of exactly what these mysterious spacecraft actually were. Could this be the work of ancient aliens? Possibly. Alien gods? Why not? Number 2, nuclear weapons. Easily one of the worst inventions of the 20th century, the nuclear bomb has all but changed global military strategy forever. But was it actually an invention of the 20th century, or has the world always been suffering under the constant threat of nuclear annihilation?
Of one of the ancient power plants used by extraterrestrials.
Some conspiracy theorists have floated the potential that, actually, nuclear weapons may not be a new invention, but just another variation of a long-present problem. Citing ancient Indian texts that describe devastating explosions brighter than 1,000 suns, these theorists propose that, actually, nuclear weapons have been around since 8 BC at least, which would be a groundbreaking discovery if it could actually be proved. But if that's not convincing enough, the theorists have also claimed that unusual skeletal remains from 1927 were linked to an ancient nuclear attack due to their unusually high levels of radiation. That one is a little harder to dismiss. While scientists have often disputed claims that nuclear weapons have ancient origins, they've been unable to provide a credible answer as to why these bodies were so high in radiation before the atomic bomb was invented. Remember, this was sometime before cell phones came along to slowly kill us from the inside out. Anyway, let's move on. Number 1, sound magnifying ancient...
Wait, let that sink in. Let that sink in. Somebody gotta explain that radiation, though. Somebody gotta explain it. And just like the one before it, when they was talking about the Indians and possibly unidentified flying objects that they were trying to identify, what was that? Was it aliens? Was it not? Like, so you possibly had them possibly seeing UFOs back then, possibly, although we still continue to try to downplay it. And now the possibility of nuclear weapons back then. You still don't want to give them credit? Okay.
chamber. AirPods, Beats by Dre, the hypogeum of Halcyon. What do these things have in common? Yes, they're all sick, dope, and lit, but they're also incredibly well-designed tools to listen to music, podcasts, audiobooks, or just the sound of whatever terrifying creature of nature is lurking nearby. The Halcyon hypogeum is one of Malta's most unknown gems. It's been certified as a UNESCO World Heritage Site and is frequently listed as one of the most incredible places on the Earth in tourism magazines that apparently nobody reads.
When the team examines the interiors of the temples,
While the hypogeum is notable for the fact that it's the world's oldest prehistoric underground temple, dating back around 5,000 years, most people know it for a different reason. The acoustics are terrific, so terrific in fact that they can magnify a sound by over 100 times. Those that have witnessed it firsthand describe the experience as like being inside a giant bell, which actually sounds like a nightmare I've had and would not recommend. While the site is often celebrated as an impressive feat of engineering, nobody knows why it was built or how it was designed, or even who used it. All we know is that people go in with their hearing and come out with an incredible souvenir. As one guest put it, I visited the hypogeum of Halcyon and all I got was this lousy tinnitus. Do you have any explanation for any of this incredible technology?
If it was prayer going on, do you think they had it like that, or they believed the prayer could echo louder and get to where they wanted their prayers to be delivered? Possible. You know what I mean? So, like I said in the beginning, man, my whole thing is just letting people know that, they were very, very intelligent. And for some reasons, they had to be, because they had to figure out how to survive attacks with these type of swords that, you know what I mean? So they were pushed to be that. It was a matter of life and death. A lot of things we create nowadays aren't because of a matter of life and death. You know what I mean? So just think of that when you're judging. And I'm not speaking to everybody, but some people just refuse to believe they were that intelligent and was like, nah, that couldn't have been created back then. Why? So that's what be getting me riled up. But y'all get at me in the comment section, man. Let me know what you think and stick around and stay tuned to the next one. I'm going. Peace.